So this video is going to be a little bit, not on the serious side, but just a conversation about what I see sort of a problem with how people are acting today about, not just video games, but almost social media on the whole. Not the most serious thing, it's just video games and it's just talking about the internet. But this is something that a lot of people are having a problem with, and a topic that a lot of people find important or, sort of near and dear to their heart. And what that problem is people pushing so hard their opinion where either it doesn't belong or it does belong, and it's fair game to talk about your opinion, but it's so, I'm right, you're wrong, and I'm going to do everything in my power to either prove that I'm right or push your opinion, push your product, push your art out of the way so that I can come out on top. And what this leads to is differing opinions, which, it's a natural part. We're all people with different lives and different experiences and different personalities. So of course we're going to have different opinions. But when you take that different opinion and that causes a destruction of art or a product of art being destroyed, discarded, never coming true because people, they dunked on it too much and it got so much hate and bad press online that it just never came to be. And that's the first point I want to touch on, which is people, game developers, games, even just movies or shows being pushed so far that cool idea never actually comes up. And that stinks because, personally, I can't speak for everyone, but I like cool ideas. I want to see cool ideas. And even if there's a game coming out or a movie coming out that I'm not the biggest fan of either, it's about a franchise I don't really care for or that I just don't like, I'm allowed to speak out against that, of course, because, if you put something to the public, it's fair game to be criticized and to be critiqued and argued over. But I don't have the right to shoot it down so far and do everything in my power to make sure that it can't come true. And a quick example off the top of my head that I wrote down, so it's not off the top of my head, is a game called Stellar Blade, which, if you haven't heard, I'm sure you have. I'm pretty sure it is being made by a Korean developer, South Korean, and it is about, I think, a robot apocalypse, and you play as this female character named Eve that kills robots, and it's pretty cool. And a big problem people are having with it is the character model for the character Eve, and people complaining that it's either creating unrealistic body standards or it's doing all these horrible sins people are claiming it's doing. And I think that the product looks pretty cool. If you haven't seen trailers, I'm definitely going to put a clip up on screen right now. The game looks beautiful. It's created by not a big studio, I don't think. It's not just the one guy. I don't think it's the one guy. That would be very impressive. But it's created by all these people. And the game looks very, very amazing. But because people are upset with the character model, because people don't like the game, they are trying to destroy it and make sure that it doesn't come true. And maybe they're not, trying to ruin the game developer's career, but that's sort of what's happening as a result of all this backlash and, hate that's coming out of it, which, again, like I said, you're allowed to have those opinions, but it's kind of hurting people who are just trying to, I'm garbage at it. Wow, that was horrible. um, it's hurting people that are trying to just, make a game that they think is fun. And that kind of sucks. Another point I wanted to touch on, piggybacking off of the Stellar Blade thing, which we may or may not come back to, is there was a whole controversy a little while ago about the creator of FNAF, Scott Cawthon, thrown under the bus because he had political views that people weren't a fan of. And I'm not saying you have to agree with the guy. This is just a quick example, but people who were fans of him found out that he had a different opinion that they didn't agree with, they didn't like, and he sort of had to give up power over FNAF because of it, because the hate was so unmanageable. But he's sort of back down. People like him again, but I imagine that was really hard for him. And people, when it's behind the screen, people don't realize this is a human being, and human beings have different opinions. That doesn't give you a right to try to ruin this person's life and ruin this person's career just because you have a different opinion than him. So it was kind of messed up for that part. And you just see it a lot of the times. People have no problem with bullying a game developer, and the main reason for people, not having a problem with bullying a game developer is because this person is behind a computer screen. They don't see them as a actual human being. They see them as someone who's an adversary to them, someone who is on the opposite team, and this person has to be, kind of schooled almost online, which is how they see it. Which it's sad. I think, not to make this like a whole moral rant about the internet, but it's done good things for people. Okay, I like the internet. I like how much it's brought us together, but it's also made people view others as less of people because you don't see their face. You just see letters and words on a screen and a send button, and it's just you trying to make your point and defeat the other point. And you have to realize that is not an environment that art can breathe in, that art can grow in, that art can live in. That's an environment where people are only fueled on, pushing their opinions and not allowing others. That's where art suffers, because artists are very interesting, because artists have very different views usually than the majority class. But that's why art is interesting. That's why artists make art, and that is appreciated by people, that is liked by people, that others can't make that, because that's just how art is made. That's what it is. And when you try to push people so far and say, you said this I didn't like, you posted this I didn't like, your show, your book, your movie, your game is doing this thing I don't like, so I'm gonna make sure that you don't have a job anymore and you can't make these things. Well, that's going to lead to a very boring, very one-sided society, and it's sad. It's a sad reality. And again, art is what defines a culture. When you look back at ancient Rome and ancient Greece and ancient, I guess even Egypt, you could say, you look at their sculptures and you look at their paintings and you look at their cave art, I guess. I don't know if you would consider the Egyptian art cave art. But you would look at that and you say, how interesting is that? And in 1,000 years, if we're still, I don't know if we're going to be around in 1,000 years, but in the future when people look back at us, they're going to see, our shows and our books and our movies and our games, and they're going to say, this is the art that sort of defined this era. And that art has to be interesting. And if they look back and all they see is a one-sided, boring, sort of politically driven art, they're gonna say, okay, well, these people were clearly, not the best. And it just leads to not our best impression on our current state. But the thing about art, the funny thing about art is, one, art means many things to different people. Art can be disliked. Of course, this isn't me saying have no opinion about art. This is me saying have your opinion, talk about your opinion, defend your opinion, but don't try to shun and destroy people of different opinions. Art ought to be, it must be debated, but hating it and trying to destroy it, prevent it from being made, is where we see our problem, is where we see this sad reality that we have, this sad current state. Stellar Blade, going back to that example, I think it will be made, I'm pretty sure. I don't think it's out yet. I think it should be coming out soon, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'll find that information in while being forced to edit this. But it's still sad to see something that people care about and that thing be taken by other people who don't agree with it, and it be stepped on, and it be tried to make something that doesn't happen, something that's taken away. How art can suffer from a group of people or one person attacking the creators of the product, of the art, of the show, the movie, the book, the game, whatever. But I don't know, I haven't gone through and looked at, made statistics of every single game, of every single tweet. But our main problem that we're seeing, I feel like, is not one person on the developers. It's not one person on the game. It's usually a group of people versus a group of people, a fan base. It could be. An example could be, I've seen this a lot. People are not liking Spider-Man fans because Spider-Man fans and Batman fans are kind of in the same boat, where not all of them, but the loudest ones, the minority can always be the loudest, so they kind of form a representation of the main group, and they come across as very, my hero or my franchise is the best thing, and if you don't like that, you're crazy and you have no opinion, and they kind of like dogpile you, and they kind of like attack you and insult you, and you're like, I just said that I didn't like that product, or I just said I liked that product. And it's like, okay, these people are kind of a little bit crazy, because people have such an allegiance to their opinion and, their tribe almost. I think that's the best way to put it. People are very tribal, and especially on the internet, and especially with what they view as home almost. Star Wars fan, someone who's really comfortable with Star Wars might view Star Wars as home. So when someone tries to attack your home, you attack them, and that's how they see it. And I don't think that's healthy. I don't think that results in productive conversation. I think that results in the not productive conversation. I know that was very insightful on my end, but just not the biggest fan of it. Another example is the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League game, where it was very split. And also, you could say Gotham Knights. I guess I could take those two examples. Very split. Split like 80-20 almost, like, 80% didn't like it and 20% did like it. But people still did like it, but those people who liked it, well, let me first say, the people who didn't like it because they felt that it was disrespectful to the story, disrespectful to the characters, or just uninteresting, and that's fair. That's fair. You know, I actually haven't played either of those games because of the things I've heard about it. I just, you know, not that I think they were horrible games from what I heard, but, you know, why am I going to spend $70 on something that has a very mixed reception when I can play something I like that I already have for free, or put money into a game that I've heard good things about? So that's just my thing. But not to discredit the people who did like it. People who did like it, you know, were getting attacked because they were liking a game. And just because someone heard about a product, took their money and bought that product and enjoyed it, they're being attacked. And I think that's very unfair. That's not cool at all, because now that person is almost being ostracized in a way. That person is being, you know, hassled and spoken down to by some people just because they like a product that they bought. And I'm like, what is that about? And the main place for this is Twitter, you could say. I guess you can say that, but it's practically everywhere. You know, you'll see a lot of people on YouTube too. I usually stay away from those videos where people, either in the comments, but even people who are making the videos themselves, they will just attack a certain product or certain group of people that believe a certain thing. And it's just, why are we doing this? Shouldn't we be more interested in having productive conversations and talking to each other and discussing things we do and don't like, and franchises we both like? Because the people who, I'm just going to pick on the Suicide Squad game, people who didn't like it because they thought it was disrespectful to the Arkham franchise, or the people who did like it. Those people both clearly like Batman stuff, or Batman Arkham, Batman related things. But now they have kind of become enemies because they are in opposite groups now, and that's just kind of sad. So the main point to kind of wrap this up, because not that I've been ranting, I don't think, but maybe a little bit ranting, is that, you know, disagreement in conversation and not liking art or liking art is a good thing. And we should have these conversations, and we should you know, kind of agree and disagree with each other. But when we take our disagreements and we just become very tribal and we pick a side and we attack the other side, well, what is that about? Where does that bring us, except for people being upset with each other and people feeling like they can't talk about something they like, a product they like, and that should be the opposite of what we want as media consumers. So that's my little rant on this. Thanks for watching. Remember, we're all kings and queens. See you in the next one.